Eleanor Hayes untied her apron with trembling hands, her eyes burning with unshed tears. After 12 years of working at Maple Street Café copyright, it was ending like thieves are fired on Christmas Eve, 2 hours before closing, in front of a dining room full of customers. "I'm sorry, Eleanor, but I have to let you go," her manager, Mr. Dawson, had said loudly enough for nearby tables to hear. "Corporate orders. Cutting costs. Last hired, first fired." Well, in your case, oldest hired, first fired. He'd actually smirked at his own joke. Eleanor was 62 years old. She'd worked at this Café copyright since it opened, had trained half the current staff, knew every regular customer by name. And now, 3 days before Christmas, she was jobless. "But Mr. Dawson," she tried to say, her voice shaking, "I need this job. My medication alone costs are not my problem. Eleanor, clean out your locker and leave your uniform." Now, standing behind the counter one last time, Eleanor looked around the Café copyright she'd loved. The window booth where old Mrs. Patterson sat every Tuesday. The corner table where the book club met. The counter where she'd served coffee to 3 generations of the Morrison family. Her hands shook as she removed her name tag. 12 years, summed up in a small plastic rectangle. Eleanor, her coworker, Jenny, touched her arm gently. "I'm so sorry. This is wrong." "So wrong." "It's all right, dear," Eleanor managed, though her voice cracked. "You take care of yourself. And remember, Mr. Chen likes his coffee with exactly 2 sugars, not 1, not 3. And the Hendersons always sit by the window because their daughter used to love watching the snow." Jenny's eyes filled with tears. "You've taught me so much." Eleanor patted her hand and turned toward the back room. She had to get out before she completely broke down. Christmas Eve. How was she going to face Christmas morning with her grandson, Tommy? She'd promised him a special day. She'd been saving for months. But now, she was gathering her things from her locker when she heard a voice from the dining room, clear and firm. "Excuse me, everyone. Can I have your attention, please?" Eleanor froze. She knew that voice. It belonged to Marcus Webb, the single father who'd been coming to the Café copyright every evening for the past month. He always sat at the corner table with his 7-year-old daughter, Lily. They ordered hot chocolate and split a piece of pie. Eleanor had noticed they always counted their change carefully, always left exactly what they could afford. Marcus was standing now, in the middle of the Café copyright. His daughter stood beside him, holding his hand. "My name is Marcus Webb," he said, his voice carrying through the room. "And I've been coming here every night this month. I know most of you don't know me, but I know Eleanor Hayes." Eleanor's heart pounded. What was he doing? "A month ago," Marcus continued, "I came into this Café copyright for the first time. I'd just moved to town for a job that fell through. I was down to my last $50, trying to make it stretch until I could find new work. I had my daughter with me, and she was hungry. And I was scared." The Café copyright had gone completely silent. Even Mr. Dawson had stopped whatever he was doing. "Eleanor took our order," Marcus said. "Hot chocolate and 1 piece of pie." When she brought it, there were 2 pieces. 2 large pieces. And when I tried to tell her we'd only ordered 1, she winked at me and said, "The second one's on the house." Growing girls need dessert. Eleanor remembered. Of course she remembered. She'd seen the worry in Marcus's eyes, the way his daughter's coat was too thin for winter. "I tried to refuse," Marcus continued, his voice growing thick with emotion. "But Eleanor insisted. She said every child deserves a treat at Christmas." Then, before she walked away, she slipped something onto our table. He held up a small envelope. $20. And a note that said, "For emergencies. Pay it forward when you can." Eleanor's hand flew to her mouth. She'd forgotten about that. "That $20 bought us groceries for 3 days," Marcus said. "It bought gas so I could get to job interviews. It bought my daughter a warm meal when I couldn't." His voice broke. It was the kindness of a stranger who saw 2 people struggling and decided to help. Lily, his daughter, spoke up in her small, clear voice. "Miss Eleanor always remembers that I like extra whipped cream, and she asks about my drawings, and she makes my daddy smile. Marcus put his hand on his daughter's shoulder. Eleanor did this even though I found out later she was working 2 jobs to pay for her late husband's medical bills. Even though she was struggling herself, she gave from a place of nothing because that's who she is. He turned to look directly at Mr. Dawson. And now I've watched you fire this woman, this kind, generous, hard-working woman on Christmas Eve in front of everyone, like she's nothing. Mr. Dawson's face had gone red. Now see here, this is a private matter. And no, Marcus interrupted firmly. It stopped being private when you humiliated her publicly. He looked around the room. How many of you has Eleanor helped over the years? How many of you has she served with a smile even on her hardest days? To Eleanor's shock, people started standing. Mr. Chen, who'd been coming to the Café copyright for morning coffee for a decade. The Henderson family, the book club ladies, even young college students who studied there. One by one, they stood. Eleanor helped me when my mother was sick, Mrs. Patterson called out, her voice wavering but strong. She brought soup to the hospital. On her day off, she covered for me when I had to leave early for my son's school play. Jenny added. She's covered for half of us at one time or another. She gave my kids free cookies every Saturday, another customer said. For 5 years. Never asked for anything in return. Marcus held up his hand. Here's what I propose. Eleanor Hayes deserves better than this. She deserves respect. She deserves security. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. I'm starting a fund. Right here, right now. For Eleanor. Marcus. No, Eleanor started, stepping out from the back room, tears streaming down her face. But Marcus had already placed money on his table. $50. It's not much, but it's what I can give. Lily carefully placed her piggy bank on the table next to her father's money. I have $7.43, she said solemnly. For Miss Eleanor. And then something remarkable happened. One by one, customers came forward. They placed money on Marcus's table. Bills and coins, whatever they could spare. Mr. Chen placed a $100 bill down with a small bow. Mrs. Patterson added what looked like several 20s. The college students pooled their cash. Even Jenny pulled tips from her apron pocket and added them to the growing pile. Stop, Mr. Dawson said loudly. This is inappropriate. This is what community looks like, Marcus said, cutting him off. This is what happens when someone who's given everything gets a chance to receive something back. An older gentleman in a business suit stood up from a corner booth. Eleanor recognized him vaguely. He'd been coming in occasionally over the past week, always alone, always observing. Excuse me, the man said, his voice carrying authority. My name is Richard Brennan. I own Brennan Properties. We're developing the new shopping complex on 5th Street. He looked at Eleanor. I've been coming here this week specifically to observe this Café copyright to see if it would fit the image we want for our development. Mr. Dawson suddenly looked pale. Mr. Brennan, sir, I didn't realize you clearly. Mr. Brennan said dryly, I've watched how this Café copyright operates, and I've watched Eleanor Hayes. She's the heart of this place, the reason people come back. He turned to Mr. Dawson. And I just watched you fire that heart on Christmas Eve. He walked over to Eleanor, who stood frozen, tears streaming down her face. Miss Hayes, I'm opening a Café copyright in the new complex. Premium location. I need someone to manage it. Someone who understands that business isn't just about numbers, so it's about people. He handed her a business card. The salary is $65,000 a year, plus benefits and profit sharing. Would you be interested? Eleanor couldn't speak. She looked at the card, then at Mr. Brennan, then at Marcus and Lily, then at all the customers who'd stood up for her. I don't know what to say, she whispered. Say yes, Miss Eleanor, Lily called out. You deserve it. The Café copyright erupted in applause. Eleanor looked at the pile of money on Marcus's table, at the faces of people she'd served for years, at this stranger who'd stood up for her when she couldn't stand up for herself. Yes, she said, her voice growing stronger. Yes, I'd be honored. Mr. Brennan smiled. Excellent. Start after the new year. We'll discuss details then. He glanced at Mr. Dawson. As for this establishment, I'm afraid Brennan Properties will no longer be considering it for our development. Good evening. As Mr. Brennan left, Mr. Dawson sputtered, but no one was paying attention to him anymore. They were all gathered around Eleanor. Marcus approached her, Lily still holding his hand. The money on the table, it's over $800 for you. For Christmas. For whatever you need. Eleanor shook her head, tears flowing freely now. I can't accept all this. It's too much. You gave when you had nothing, Marcus said gently. Let people give back to you now. Let yourself receive the kindness you've always given. Lily tugged on Eleanor's sleeve. Daddy says you're an angel. Are you an angel, Miss Eleanor? Eleanor knelt down, hugging this little girl who'd witnessed her father's kindness being returned. No, sweetheart, I'm just someone who tries to help when I can. Just like your daddy. But that's what angels do, Lily said simply. That night, as Eleanor walked home through the softly falling snow, she carried $843, a business card that represented a new beginning, and something she'd almost lost her hope. Her phone buzzed. A text from Jenny. You're invited to Christmas dinner tomorrow at my parents' house. Please come. Your family. Another text, this one from Marcus. Thank you for teaching Lily and me what kindness looks like. Merry Christmas, Eleanor. You changed our lives. Eleanor stopped walking and looked up at the stars. Somewhere, she hoped her late husband, George, was smiling. He'd always said that what you give comes back to you, just not always in the way you expect. She'd spent 12 years giving from a heart that knew loss, struggle, and hardship. She'd given because it was right, not because she expected anything in return. And tonight, in her darkest moment, a room full of people led by a single father who remembered a kindness he had given back. On Christmas morning, Eleanor woke up in her small apartment and made breakfast for her grandson, Tommy, who'd stayed overnight. As they ate, she told him what had happened. So you're not sad anymore, Grandma? Tommy asked. Eleanor thought about it. About being fired. About standing in front of everyone, humiliated. About Marcus standing up. About money piling up on a table. About Mr. Brennan's offer. About a community that had surrounded her with love. No, sweetheart, she said, pulling him close. I'm not sad. I'm grateful. Because yesterday I learned something important. When you spend your life lifting others up, eventually when you fire there are people that to catch you. Later that morning, Eleanor delivered homemade cookies to Marcus and Lily's apartment. Lily answered the door in pajamas, her face lighting up. Miss Eleanor. Daddy, Miss Eleanor's here. Marcus came to the door, smiling. Merry Christmas. Please, come in. I can't stay long, Eleanor said. But I wanted to thank you for what you did. For standing up when I couldn't stand up for myself. You stood up for us when we needed it, Marcus replied. I just returned the favor. It was more than a favor, Eleanor said softly. You reminded me that I matter. That my years of work mattered. That kindness isn't wasted, even when it feels like it disappears into the void. She handed him an envelope. This is from the money that was collected. I want you to have it back, with interest. Marcus opened it and found $200. He started to protest, but Eleanor held up her hand. You need it more than I do right now. And besides, she smiled, you taught me something yesterday too. You taught me that it's okay to receive. That letting people help you is a gift you give them. Marcus's eyes grew moist. Thank you, Eleanor. As Eleanor walked home through the Christmas morning quiet, she realized something profound. She'd been fired on Christmas Eve. She'd lost a job she'd held for 12 years. She'd been humiliated in front of a Café copyright full of people. And yet, somehow, it had become one of the most beautiful nights of her life. Because in losing everything, she'd discovered what truly mattered. Not the job, not the paycheck, not even the security. What mattered was the connection, the community, the web of kindness that holds us all together, invisible most days, but revealed in moments of crisis. She'd given from an empty cup for so long, not realizing that the cup itself was being filled by those same acts of giving. Every smile, every kind word, every piece of pie shared with a struggling father and daughter, they'd all been deposits in an account she hadn't known existed. And when she needed it most, when she stood the broken and jobless on Christmas Eve, That account had paid out in ways money couldn't measure. A single dad at a corner table had stood up, and in standing, he'd reminded everyone else to stand too. That's what heroes do. Not the ones in movies, but the real ones. The ones who sit at corner tables counting change. The ones who remember a kindness. The ones who stand up when someone is knocked down. Eleanor Hayes had spent 12 years being that kind of hero. And on Christmas Eve, she learned that heroes don't work alone. They build communities. They inspire others. And when they fall, the community they built catches them. That's the real Christmas miracle. Not the money, not the new job, but the moment when a room full of people stood up and said, "You matter. Your kindness mattered, and we won't let you fall alone." Merry Christmas, Eleanor. You earned it.